Also new today, the other big story, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth urging allies in Asia to be prepared after calling China an imminent threat to Taiwan. So let's bring in NBC News national security reporter Gordon Lubold. Gordon, welcome. What does Hegseth mean by saying that China threat could be imminent? I mean, he doesn't attach any kind of a timeline to the word imminent. So how do you interpret all of this?
Sure. Good afternoon. There's a couple things there. I think this is this Secretary of Defense's first or one of his first big international trips. I think he's trying to make kind of different kind of headlines than the ones that we've seen about him in recent weeks pertaining to other things that we can talk about. But I think this is, it's not clear that this is new intelligence or anything in that way. I think he's just in the region, in Singapore, trying to sound the alarm to the region to say a threat from China is real. You know, we've heard for years about the effort to kind of focus on that region, and, you know, the kind of realities of the world keep getting in the way, the Middle East, Europe, Ukraine, Gaza. And so I think he's just really trying to kind of sound an alarm bell. It's not clear that China is anywhere near some kind of an invasion that we know of. The notional view is that President Xi would do something after 2027. So we're still a little ways out.
Okay, so the top of what you said, though, the implication being that he's trying to present himself as someone to be taken seriously and trying to present an impressive front, basically, and defy, as you refer to, past headlines?
Right. So, as you know, viewers may be following, the Secretary of Defense has had some problems with not only the kind of signal gate issues where, you know, a reporter was put on a chat and Hegseth himself put the kind of very sensitive military operational information on that chat, and that was shared with the reporter inadvertently. But he's also had a lot of drama around his senior staff. He abruptly fired 3 senior aides and removed his own chief of staff. And now, over the last many weeks, you know, has not been able to replace those people. And some of this drama has drawn the attention of the White House, and they're now working to try to kind of smooth it over. But I think in some ways this is an effort to kind of erase or drown out some of those concerns and say, here I am, a serious person on the world stage.
I mean, point well taken. Hard to eliminate the memory of that Atlantic article, that's for sure, and the fallout. So let's talk about the U.S., which has ratcheted up its rhetoric and actions, in fact, against China in the last couple of days on the terror front, the China student visa front as well. Does this latest rhetoric from Hegseth, does it serve as a further warning of sorts to China?
Yeah, I think it certainly does. I mean, you know, despite what we just said, I think that it's effective in putting another, you know, as I say, warning sign, sending a signal to Beijing that the U.S. is serious on all these different fronts. How they'll react is unclear. The other thing I would say, though, about the defense secretary's remarks is, you know, President Trump is clear that he really doesn't want war anywhere. He talks a lot about peace through strength, and that is, in effect, is what Hegseth is talking about. But the kind of strong rhetoric that we heard from there today seems a little bit out of sync with the way Trump would like to portray, you know, the world order. I think they want to send a strong signal to China, but they also don't want to suggest that, you know, we're about to go to war.
Okay. Let me quickly get to the new NBC News exclusive in which you and some of our colleagues, Gordon, are reporting National Intelligence Director Tulsi Gabbard is considering ways to revamp Trump's intelligence briefing. What does a revamp mean, and why does she think this is necessary?
Yeah, so the PDB, as it's known, the Presidential Daily Briefing, is a highly classified briefing that presidents typically choose to take on different intervals, typically every day, not always. This president has taken, I think, 14 times since the inauguration in January. But what I think Gabbard is trying to do is just to, and this is often done, essentially tailor this document, this product, this intelligence product, to suit the consumption desires of this president, which is fine. Making it into a document that or into a product that he will absorb and listen to. The PDB is very important because how it is framed and what is included in it really does have an effect on how the president sees the world, literally. And so I think what they're trying to do, and what my colleagues and I reported early this morning, was that they wanted to make it so it would be something that he could consume and absorb.
Yep. Well, it's important he digest it. That is for sure. We thank you for all you gave us to digest, Gordon. See you again. Thank you.